Kanse, and welcome back to the Indigenous Projects and Events Speakers Bureau YouTube series. Today, in this episode, we are excited to introduce Levi Horn, who is an Indigenous speaker, facilitator, and emcee based out of Spokane, Washington. Levi is enrolled Northern Cheyenne out of Lame Deer, Montana, and brings a strong presence rooted in identity, leadership, culture, and lived experience. Throughout his work, Levi creates meaningful connections with audiences, whether he is speaking, hosting, facilitating, emceeing, or helping guide important conversations. In this episode, we'll learn more about Levi's stories, the knowledge that he carries, the topics that he speaks on, and how his voice and leadership can support schools, organizations, conferences, community events, and cultural programming. As usual, I'm Natasha Delany, the founder of Indigenous Projects and Events. Please welcome me in joining Levi Horn. Thank you so much, Levi, for being here and speaking with me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, yes, thank you for letting me be here today. I'm having a great time right now. It's a transitional period in my life, and being able to be a part of the International Speakers Bureau is one of those other exciting journeys I have going on, Natasha. So I can't wait to get this going.
Awesome. So, can you start by introducing yourself for those who don't know you, where you come from, and a little bit about your background?
Okay. Levi Horn, Northern Cheyenne, like we talked about. I was born and raised in Spokane. My mom and uncles, they moved from Montana, kind of uh, a lot of the family names from over there, they came over in the 70s and 80s, and I think a lot of that has to do with their identity, their lack of identity, the assimilation that was going on. Their their fathers and their grandparents, mothers, they weren't speaking and they weren't passing on the culture. So I think a lot of that migration was kind of a negative migration with addiction, and it's what I've seen a lot in my experience is that we weren't rooted by our culture, and they went and found other cultures, positive or negative. So growing up here, I lived, my mother, Julia Faye Horn. She raised three kids. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby at 6'7", 320 pounds. Yeah, if my mom says if she could pick me up, she'd still do it to this day. But
Are you the
she,
tallest?
I am the tallest, but a lot of so all of my heritage is Northern Cheyenne, Siksika, Ani, Grovant, and so they're and then three affiliated Arikara. So they're all pretty big Native American, especially the men in our family. So I think our shortest in our family is probably around 6'2", maybe 6 foot, but yeah, we're pretty tall.
Is
But
it
so
all,
yeah,
sorry, is it all indigenous ancestry that you have, or is there some European ancestry in there? I know you talked a lot about migration within your history.
yeah. So I never knew my father. My mother was in an abusive relationship, and I kind of was in between two relationships. So that was something that I never really knew about until I'd say about 5, 6 years ago. We found out on Ancestry DNA who my father was. He served in the military. He was a great guy. I picked up a new set of family. But he recently passed on, so I never got to meet
Mm,
him.
I'm
So
sorry to hear.
yeah, that is part of my story, part of my journey, and but having a strong mother that really she did everything on her own. She never really relied on other men or anything like that because she wanted to keep us, her babies, safe, which she did. She did an amazing job at that and the best that she could. But growing up on welfare um, in um, in Spokane, yeah, there were tough times. We relied
Yeah.
heavily on relied on our food bank and our Native American services over here in Spokane. They would buy my sports shoes and things like that. So my mom was always going out there and making sure we got our needs met. But we had good support from our organizations over here. And that just
Awesome.
goes to show you wherever you start with that dream, whatever that is, you can make it. So when I was 6 years old, I made my dream to go to the NFL. And I put that energy out there to Creator and everybody else, and people laughed at me for that. Everybody was, "Oh, Levi, you're not going to go do that." But it was truly that point in that decision that I said, I want to go do this, and I'm going to live my life this way to go do this. Playing football, getting out there as much as possible, all sports really though at that younger point in time kept driving me. That was what I wanted to do, and school wasn't a part of that. Like I didn't want to go to school, but this is something I had to do for this to happen. So school was then academics was something that I had to worry about, and it kind of gradually grew from there. I always loved it until I got to the middle school where I moved. I moved
Yeah.
from Spokane to Seattle because my brother wanted to go and be a gangster and kind of live that lifestyle. And
Mm.
from Spokane to Seattle, he kind of graduated up to that level. And me and my mom had to go over there and get him. And I told my mom, I go, well, if we go over there, leaving grade 6, I want to be back over here for my freshman year, grade 9, over here in high school. And sure enough, we were able to do that. So I came back over here kind of eighth grade year at 240 pounds, 6'4", and I was too big to play football. So the
You're too
people, the
young to
people,
play football.
yeah, they told me that I needed to drop 40 pounds. So I got on the Atkins diet, and I dropped 35 pounds, and I still wasn't able to play football. And so my first year, and that was a point in time where actually I wasn't able to make football, and I started skateboarding a lot, staying out, kind of making those knucklehead decisions and moves,
How did
hanging
you
out with those.
feel?
What was that?
How did you feel when you were rejected twice?
Um, so it was tough, but I mean, there was like one point in time, seventh, eighth grade, that middle school level, like having a goal of dropping 40 pounds. And it was really, really hard for me to lose weight when I was coming up, being a big boy. I was still really proud about it. So I liked that victory, but I also knew the people that I was hanging out with weren't the people that I needed to be hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
And so come my freshman year, uh, my friend got to go to an alternative school. So he got to leave early. He got to go smoke cigarettes, and not a lot of goals, and definitely no sports there.
Yeah.
And that could have been the choice that I made. I could have had an easier academic road by going over there, but I said no. I want to go, and I want to go to my high school where I lived in the neighborhood forever, and represent them on the football field. So that was one of like the first day of the rest of my life, being able to go suit up and play football, the sport that I love.
Grade 10?
Grade 10, I was the only sophomore to move up to varsity. And so when that happened, I actually found out I had my L4 in my lower back was slipped in a quarter inch. So I had some medical issues grade 10, and kind of slipped back that year. And I got demoted back down to junior varsity. But I figured out, I went to physical rehabilitation, got that underway. So come my grade 11 year, my junior year, I would be back of it physically. Mentally, I still wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I'm going in here. I'm big. I know I'm going to be able to make an impact, and I did. And I actually got
So many
caught at
people are telling you you can't do it. That's from what it sounds like.
yes. There was a lot of influence of that, but then also just with my social. But I had a good group of mentors at my school that held on to me, that believed in me, and that said, Levi, don't listen to this, or Levi, you need to choose better this way. And luckily, I listened to them. But I went to a social event my junior year, and my coach just reminded me of this story. He goes, we wanted Levi to make the decision. Are you going to be committed to this? And he told his wife, and she goes, you better find out a way to make him on the football field, because that's the only way I like watching these football games. And this woman, my coach's wife was, I didn't know for 10 years how big of a influence she was on for me to get on my senior year squad. But that's when everything changed too, because I never thought I was going to go play football longer. And this is the next impactful day of my life was when I had a football. Minot State, North Dakota called me up and they said, Levi, you're going to go on and play college football. And that's really what grounded me. And I really saw this vision of me going on and playing because I never saw any Native Americans go play college or go play in the NFL or professional natives, in the 2000s was very rare. And we didn't have the social media to spread it. Like it wasn't instantaneous. So that's when, me, myself, I was starting to get like, oh man, this is getting scary now because I could do it physically. Where I struggled was the mental part because when you grow up in trauma and you grow about putting food on the table, are you worried about positive self-talk at that moment? Are you worried about repeating these goals and these things every day so you know that you're worth it?
Right.
Uh, but that was definitely a big moment in my life. And then I went to the University of Oregon on a full ride scholarship. This is
Wow.
where I kind of was exposed mentally. I
Yeah.
was a big fish or a little fish in a big pond at that time. Yep.
Hmm.
And then I wasn't hanging out with my crew was not that good. I kind of stepped.
Sounds like you were very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then the dynamics. So you're going from I'm living in the one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in Washington, even out of Seattle, and then going down to the University of Oregon, where you're talking a lot of prevalent kids are coming up to school, paying that out-of-state tuition of $60,000 a year. They got cars. Oh, I was
And you
very,
got
very,
full tuition.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But I was the
Wow.
first person from my high school in probably like 20, 30 years. Like people don't even remember the last time that somebody got a full ride for football. So I was very blessed on that point, but yeah, I was exposed mentally and the negative self-talk and the disbelief that I had all the time. It really wore me down. And I said, I'm going to do this all by myself. I stopped talking to my coaches, my mom. I stopped praying, and I really just kind of isolated myself. And that kind of led to my downfall. Towards the end of the year, I missed a meeting, and they said, you can transfer, Levi, or we can cut you. So I said, I'll transfer, and they were pretty nice about it. And that's when I started my career at the University of Montana. Over at uh, Over at the University of Montana, the biggest things that when I sit back and I look and reflect what happened to me at University of Oregon. All
Yeah.
right, I see my downfall. I started praying. I started re-engaging with my coaches from high school, and I had
When was, in terms of like that gap between the transfer from one university to the next and the moment where you realized like what it was that you did wrong and what you needed to do differently, like how long was that length of time and what spurred you to like think about, because most people actually don't do that. They don't actually think like, what did I do wrong here, and then change it, right? They kind of just continue on doing the same thing and really continue to be self-destructive.
so at University of Oregon, there was a time where I went to this. I say it's the first time I got tricked into going to counseling because we'd go there and we would edit my papers, but we would talk about this. So it was kind of through that year where I was like, I really started getting it. We started talking about my trauma. And it was a little bit too little, too late at that point. So once I left, talking with my coaches and processing with my coaches and thinking about this bit of counseling that I had. So it was about 3 months over that summer where I was like, man, I just lost a $50,000 a year scholarship. And that kind of kicks you in the shorts real quick, right?
Yeah.
And having my coaches there to process with was very helpful. And one of the big things that happened to me over at University of Montana is first seeing the representation. This is where my tribe from. This is where my history is out of University of Montana. There's Native American professors there. So right away, like that that disconnect that I had with University of Oregon, boom, that was already gone. There wasn't just a lot of affluent kids around. We're talking about Montana, homegrown, they got natives around me. So that one really was huge. And during football, I wasn't expected to play, redshirt freshman. but somebody got hurt. So being able to step up right away and start contributing to my team and being like, okay, I'm not sitting on the bench anymore. I really have to do this was very, very important. And making those goals of, I got a couple players of the game as a redshirt freshman. Some of those things are unheard of, and believing myself was big. And making those runs in the playoffs. We're going to be a playoff national championship team, and that kind of goes into my redshirt junior year, where then I fully took control over the starting left tackle spot as a junior. And I said, I want to be the best in the Big Sky Conference. All right. I achieved that. I want to be able to hold down for a national champion team. We did that. And then come to my senior year. And I had a very important conversation with my coach, and he goes, Levi, he goes, what are your goals for this year? I said, of course, I want to be the best in the conference again. He goes, okay, you can. He goes, what else? He goes, I want to be the best in the country. He goes, Levi, you can. And then I almost stopped there. I paused, and he goes, what else do you want? And I go, I want to go to the NFL. And he goes, you have the ability to. You have. And he made sure that he put it in my court. He wasn't going to be able to do that. No other coach was going to be. My mom, family, Levi, you have the opportunity after this season. So that was one of the big things where getting myself out of, started believing in myself, that journey and achieving that goal is something that is
Visioning,
tremendous.
visioning so much bigger than
Mhm.
you were before.
Yep, yep. And I've since pulled some of the numbers. 30,000 people have played in the NFL, and about 74, and I'm one of those 74 recorded Native Americans that got to play in the NFL. And that's I can't
That's
wait for
amazing.
75, 76, and 200, 300, because we have great athletes around this country.
That's amazing. So, how was the experience? With how was your experience in the NFL?
Oh, I just sat there and you look at it's very hard not to sit there and do the numbers because you come in with 20 guys, 14 of them were already there. You got rookies, and so it's pretty bleak. But you just go every day. Your days consist of probably waking about 6 and then going to bed around 11 o'clock after meetings. So you do about 30 days of that in a row, and it gets tough. And you weed
Mm.
out those who don't want to be there, or those who are going to give up, or they get cut. And you just hope every day that you did good enough that day to stay the next and getting better and getting better. My coach Mike Tice would say, "Work your trade," and that's what I tried to do. So it was amazing being able to represent Northern Cheyenne people, Native people all across the country, the people who would ask their questions, and any question that they had, I would fill because just because they're ignorant, just because there's lack of knowledge, doesn't mean that they're being a hateful person. So, and that's one of the things that I've always done after that, and I try to teach the youth that have been my mentees is like, and maybe they might ask you something ignorant, but keep answer it because that answer might change their ignorance a little bit. Maybe it might change their hatred a little bit or whatever their dislike. So just always answer that question if you feel comfortable. So that was one of the things I got out of going and doing that experience.
So, how supportive was your nation, and how did your nation or your family teachings shape who you've become today?
So yeah, and that's so when I was at the University of Montana, I really started to get in the not be scared. When I was younger, people would say, "Levi, you're white. Levi, just be white. Don't even say you're Native American." They really try to steal your culture
Yeah.
because you're being a single, having my mom be a single mother. I always wanted to be around her because I was scared because she had her affliction of drinking. And so I tried to protect her a lot. So that would take me, the only thing that took me out of being next to my mom was football. And so trying to protect her and then I started with all of that compounding, being ashamed and scared of then going into my teachings. Like, oh, Levi, you don't know how to dance, you don't know how to sing. And then I go get the chance to do that. Then I go, well, they already know how to do it. So now I'm even more scared.
Yeah.
And being intimidated was a big thing until I went to the University of Montana, where there was other urban Native Americans coming in there. There was other people who knew, but everybody was willing to share, and we're matured. We're
Right.
matured. So that was a huge thing. So I actually got to go up to Fort Belknap with a mentor at the time, Terry Brocky, and I got to go to sun dances, and we went to powwows, and we went to the local things, and so that was a huge thing. And then from then on, it was like, this feels so much better. I feel so much better, and being able to learn these things from all over these different mentors. Football has brought me to all these different places. And then finally, after football, Chicago was done, being able to reconnect with my people, Northern Cheyenne and Tiger Scalp Cane, and being able to see the way that we sweat, and being able to be introduced to our ceremonies, and being able to call them for guidance even now has been huge and influenced kids. So that's one thing that I have a little bit from all over the place, and I really enjoy it. I'm a little bit from all over the place, so when I see these traditions, these ceremonies, and as I'm a part of them, it just fills me up, and I continue to try to bring that all over the place.
Yeah, I always think it's so interesting the differences like so we do sweat lodges here in Alberta, Treaty 6. I went to Mexico and did like they have their touristy sweats, and I always was like I tried that, but they only do like one round for tourists, right?
Yeah.
And it was just interesting to see like the way that the different material that they use to build their sweat lodges, and that they do it in water, and like it's just I love I'd be interested to hear how much different your guys' lodges are compared to us up north.
So like over in Spokane, Salish region, um, men sweat at night, women sweat in the morning. I've been down south where they have sweats for both men and women. The Northern Cheyenne specifically, we don't put our door at west. We put it at northeast. So all these, and then Sioux, like I've gone into the prison system over here uh, as a worker, and but got to be a chapel for the Sioux sweats that they do in there, and seeing their medicine ties and how many rocks and how specific it is,
I
like
feel like the
that.
stew is very hardcore.
Yeah, there was one time where one of the inmates was getting divorced, found out, and he goes, Levi, maybe you shouldn't come into this one. And I go, okay. Okay. There was somebody who shot out the side of the sweat lodge that was so hot. And
Mm,
yeah. So,
yeah.
and then even them, we would ask the question, when are you going to stop having this suffering? When are you going to stop this and forgive yourselves and not have these such extreme sweats? When are we going to be done with that? So people who are using them, but they used it in a great way.
So, what led you into speaking, facilitating, emceeing, or the community work, as you mentioned, working? Did you volunteer at the jail, or?
So the first one, Terry Brocky. Terry Brocky, he does a language class still up there at Fort Belknap. A great person. I told him my story one time, and he goes, Levi, I'm going to bring you up to the reservation, Fort Belknap, up there in northern Montana. And I go, why would you bring me up here? I go, this story is so depressing. And he goes, no, Levi, it's not. He goes, there's so many kids out there who are living that same life as you, but they are cutting themselves short. And so that was when the first time I got the perspective of how I can use my story instead of, I guess some type of way, some people hear my story and be like, oh, you feel sorry for yourself. Um, but that's not how it is, and that's not how I tell my story. And being able to find that voice was very awesome. So I always thank Terry Brocky very much for that.
Yeah, I like to share that there's like a difference between like um, trauma dumping and then sharing an empowering story, right? Those are two very different things.
Yes.
And like it right from the start, from when I first met you, you're not the type of person that trauma dumps. You're very much the type of person that shares your story from of empowerment, of overcoming, of resilience, of being able to turn your pain into your purpose.
Yeah.
And from the sounds of it, like football really was something that saved you and that really helped you find and put together all of those pieces of yourself that were I'm not going to say missing, but just like lost, um, such as culture and
Mm-hmm.
identity and your
Mm-hmm.
sense of self. Um, so what kind of speaking opportunities have you done so far? Um, and what are you hoping to do more of in the future?
Yeah, so I've been speaking now for 16 years. Man, I'm feeling old when saying that. But being able to be mentored by Jossie Ross, Gary Davis, Chance Rush, one of my bros, Casey Nicholson, he's a comedian. Having such a strong circle of Native men has been awesome my whole entire life. Like Jossie goes, Levi, be ready for three things. Be able to speak on three different things, no matter where you go. They could tell you this, but ready to change it up.
Yeah,
Gary Davis really taught me how to use find my voice more, and then being able to start working inside those circles. You know, this is particular. This is a traditional way. This is more of a contemporary way, and this
yeah,
is how you got to be able to hold it in the middle and coming in and out. And most of the stuff that I've done is people have asked me after I found that first keynote, my voice, my journey, and the three things that I want you to get out of that. Um, I started going into more, all right, this is my cultural journey as an urban Native American and finding myself. And then it went into more where I was like, I go, what did I learn? What was the difference between Levi in high school and then Levi after professional? And that's one of my favorite ones, the nine mental skills athletes do on and off the field. I love that one because that also puts in my addiction counseling. So as we go along, that was one of the things that I thought a lot about was, all right, we just had a very motivational speaker. They came over here, everybody fired up, everybody's thinking about what their goals are. But I go, did we get any coping skills? And that's what addiction counseling, my background gave me. So whenever I go somewhere, I want to try to make sure I'm leaving you with something, not the message, the power, all that, the motivation. Yes. But when you hit that first obstacle, what are you going to be able to do to get over that so we can continue that motivation so it doesn't get shut down? So that's definitely one of my favorites. And then also, I provide addiction services addic- uh, coming in there and letting professionals, teachers know what, because a lot of people don't want to ask questions about addiction. It's very tough. They don't want to overstep, but we got to overstep and we got to do those things to save lives. We cannot pass the buck on of our children or people or anybody and being able to learn the
totally.
areas and being able to ask those hard questions when it comes to addiction and suicide prevention is something that has led my mission also. And then also just emceeing, being able to facilitate, bringing all that stuff, all the wisdom I've ever heard from any elder or anybody, and connecting all that dots is that's one of the funnest things that I love to do. And being able to go out there, say some bad jokes, and get everybody laughing is that's my one of my favorite times.
Awesome. So, like, you speak, you've done keynote speaking, you've done motivational speaking, uh, you've spoke on addiction, on suicide prevention. Um, do you offer workshops? And if so, what are some examples of your titled workshops?
So I got my cultural journey is one of my workshops. The mental skills workshop is also the other one, and then also one of the most powerful ones when we get all of our adults together. I lead one and it's led through ceremony, but connecting all these so it's worksite wellness with traditional medicine. And when you get all those people around, because they love kids, they love each other, they love the mission that they're working for. But when you sit there and you have that traditional medicine around them, it's so awesome when they break down and they get to see each other instead of just be next to each other. So that would be my worksite wellness one that I love doing. And I think those are my football camps, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think that's kind of my resume so far.
Amazing. So, for potential clients that are watching this, what would you want them to know about booking you?
Well, you're going to get somebody who's experienced a lot and something that's kind of, being able to go to professional sports, but somebody who's going to deliver that in a humble way and not only want to come in there and let everybody learn, but also learn from your community. So, I can take that to the next community and I can sit there and if I face a problem there, somebody else is going to be able to reap the benefits of that. Because being invited to communities it's a big honor, and I don't take that lightly. So you're going to get somebody that's going to come in there and do the best he can, and whatever you need out of me, I always love to curtail my workshops, keynotes, my speeches to what your community is going through at that point in time.
Sounds like there's a lot of flexibility. I love that. Um, where can our listeners find you?
So right now, I'm opening up my mental performance one-on-one. So that's going to be at coachlevi.mentalperformancecenter.com. I couldn't have made it any longer. So, and then also when it's coming for speaking opportunities will be at levihorn.com. And then there's always Facebook, Levi Horn, Instagram, Levi Horn 79. Being able to contact me at any of those, we will find out what services you need, and I'll be ready to come to your community.
And of course, you can find him on our Speakers Bureau at www.indigenousprojectsevents.com. Super excited to continue to work with you, Levi. You are an inspiration to me and to anybody that's going to be watching this and to anybody that knows you, truthfully. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for bringing me in the Bureau.
All right, please like and subscribe to learn more and to follow along Levi's journey. Check him out on Facebook, on Instagram, and we'll have his links within the show notes. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Hi, hi.